Hey, good evening, brothers. How you guys doing? What's up? Sorry, little teething problem there at the start, but I think we're fine now, hopefully. Give me a shout out in the chat if you can hear me okay, that would be appreciated. I'm always changing microphones between streams, so this is the better of the two microphones, but I can only really use this one when we're hanging out. So, yeah, please give me a shout out if you can hear me okay, if the music's too loud, and I guess we're going to get into it. I'm continuing where we were the other night, where we have our Redemptor Dreadnought, and he has now got some magnets. So I'm just going to get some paint onto this plasma cannon. Probably going to Google actually what the paint job should look on like one of these plasma cannons, so I've got some reference. Redemptor. I've never actually painted a Redemptor plasma cannon. Good evening, Spec. Good evening, Mike. Interspatial sounds good. Yeah, thank you very much. Evening, Tony. How you doing? Nice to see you guys all hanging out. Let me pull up a picture of the Redemptor Dreadnought real quick. Redemptor Dreadnought. Surely I can just get a picture off the official Games Workshop site. Hey, Chaos. How you doing, man? They got a 360, yeah, brilliant. Alright, so it's a pretty simple paint job actually. We're just putting black on pretty much all this armor paneling. And then maybe we'll mix in a couple other colors, but yeah, there's not too much complexity to this at all. So hope you guys are having a good Saturday night. Let me know what you're working on tonight in the chat. I'm going to try decide which of these two brushes looks less wrecked, and we're going to start with that. I do have a cheap brush. Unfortunately, the Element Games brushes that I use are out. So I bought this cheap Games Workshop one, but like my experience with Games Workshop brushes previously has not been great. So I've got this to move on to, maybe. Oh, your prize finally arrived. So that's great news, Chaos, because I was honestly about to go fill in compensation today for you on the Royal Mail website. Did I spell your name wrong then, or what did the address look like on the package? Like, was the address wrong? Was that why it took so long, or it just took ages? So great, everybody that got a prize. I was actually kind of worried about what brushes do I use. I really like the Element Games ones, right? Like, they're just called Element Games character brushes, and I guess they're a size 0. I have one spare, which I mean, I guess I could use now, but like I'm reluctant to open it because it's my last one, and I don't know when they're going to get restocked because they've been out of stock for a while because of the pandemic. So I'll use sort of lower quality brushes if I'm just doing base colors. I also really like the Artist Opal brushes. If you haven't used them, they're amazing. I have a size. I think I got a size 00 one of those. Like it's really fine. I'll grab it. I'll show you. It's right behind me. So I've been using this as well. Oh, it's size 0 as well. Artist Opal Series S. But I mean, it's it gets a really fine point. But these brushes are super expensive, like $12 a brush. So I don't use them for. I just use them for when I need to get really accurate. Evening AR, how you doing? How would you set up a scout squad for mid to range fire support? Do you actually mean Space Marine scouts, or do you mean something else? Something else that would be scouting, Julian. Working on a Smash Captain on a bike. Nice. Smash Captains on the bike are the. I love mine. I'm running 2 captains on a bike. I'm going to be running them again on Monday night in the next live game we've got on the channel. I've had a lot of success with those captains on a bike. Everything was written correctly, only the digital stamp was incomplete at customs, and it was probably opened. Well, I mean, if I wrote if the address was written correctly, then that was the main thing. So I guess it was just customs. I mean, there's a lot of problems with customs and Brexit at the moment, so maybe it was just part and parcel for that, I guess. Which I guess, if that's the case, that couldn't really be helped. So, cool. I'm really glad to hear you got it, though, man. I was starting to get worried that I was going to have to fill in. I did actually look at the compensation form this morning, and it doesn't look like it's easy to claim compensation, because I I would have had to prove that I'd have to prove what was in the package, and I don't really know how I would have done that. You know, like short of taking a picture of me wrapping the package before I sent it, I don't know how I would have proved what was inside. You know, this is a new tub of black, and it's Games Workshop black, but it is very thin. Almost too thin for my liking, actually, here. The M series size 1 could do... I think I could do pretty much everything with. Are you talking about Artist Opal M series? I don't know if I've owned an M series 1 from them, but the S series 1 does seem pretty great. I'm going to barely put any water into this then, like the tiniest little drop, because this paint is really thin tonight. What's the difference between S and M? Yeah, I really don't know what the difference between the two is. Do you think it just needs shake? Because I did actually shake it, like... Maybe it's just been sat too long. Give me a sec here then, let me shake it a bit more. This this black is actually from one of those magazines from, like, what is it? Conquest, probably from like a couple of years ago. It's been, so it's probably, you're probably right, Tony, it's been sat way too long. Seems a bit better now that I put less water into it, but I don't typically undercoat my stuff in silver. Like, I just got this from a friend who'd already undercoated it in silver, so I guess, like, it's just going to need a bit... Let me shake this black a bit more. It's a little bigger than the 1, but more control because it's shorter. Yeah, something that's... It's to do with the end... It's to do with the length of the bristles, right? I think Element Games make, like, they call it a stubby brush. And I don't really use the stubby brushes. I kind of like slightly longer bristles, like, I guess like a centimeter or something, but yeah. But I'm glad that I managed to trade for this gun, because I really didn't want to have to do another proxy on the list that we're running. And we're going to run the same list that we ran last weekend, last Monday, against Sisters of Battle this week. So I'm hopeful this list will do quite well. I mean, it's low in OBSEC, right? Like, it's really low in OBSEC. You just have the 1 troop unit, but I actually don't think I have too many problems with just having 1 troop. You know, like, most of the time, if you're on an objective as Blood Angels, you probably have the power to kill the enemy, right? In close combat or something. So I'm trying not to worry too much about the lack of OBSEC, and we're just gonna continue and see how it goes. Hi, pretend our glorious angel boy return. What do you think his abilities and stats would look like? I don't think our glorious angel boy would return. Flashbesk, but I think what might happen is Dante will go through the Rubicon and come out hopefully a lot stronger than he is right now, because I mean, I'm not running Dante right now. A lot of people are still running Dante. A lot of people still like Dante. I mean, I like him in terms of lore and stuff, but I think Dante needs a feel no pain, honestly. I mean, he's supposed to be the oldest living space marine just about, right? He survives like thousands of battles, whatever. I think he needs a feel no pain, and honestly, I think I would like to see him like get another toughness, you know? Toughness 4 characters die pretty easily these days, I feel like. There's so many like meltaguns and stuff on the table. I mean, even Blood Angels lists now are running with like 12 multi-meltas, and we're not a shooting army, you know? So it's like oh, sorry, not 12 multi-meltas, 12 multi-melta shots though, right? Like, people are running 6 Eradicators or 6 attack bikes and Blood Angels. So if Blood Angels players are running that many melta shots, like, what are the actual shooting factions run? Like, tough 4 characters just die very quickly. And sure, you can screen them, but I mean, if you screen them with something like Sanguinary Guard and they get deleted in a single turn, which can, you know, I've lost my whole Sanguinary Guard in a turn a few times in 9th edition. If that happens, then they can just shoot out your characters, right? If your characters can't survive, then you have big problems. Sweet, an SOB game. What's that mean, Martin? I'm not sure. Would be sick if Dante grew actual wings after the Rubicon. Yeah, I mean, in the books, right? Spoilers. Yeah, I don't really want to spoil the books, but I think Dante has to be taking the Rubicon soon. I guess. Like, I think that will happen for sure. And I guess when it does happen, it's probably going to happen in the next Blood Angels book, I would guess. So I mean, that may be a slight spoiler there. But I mean, the next book's probably going to be a year away, so. It seems like we only have one author writing about Blood Angels, which is like Guy Haley, right? So, and I mean, I know he writes books for the other factions and chapters as well. So, it's probably going to be a year before we get the next chapter for the Blood, or the next book after Darkness and the Blood, I guess. Maybe even more than a year. It's hard to tell, I guess. What are your thoughts on using an Impulsor with Death Company Intercessors? Ugh, I have problem, like, Death Company Intercessors are cool in that they get 7 attacks per model once you get into Savage Echoes, right? I mean, like, that part of them is amazing, but I suppose if I was gonna run Death Company Intercessors, I'd probably take the Repulsor. Like, I don't think I would foot slog Death Company Intercessors. They're just, to me, if you're dead set on taking Death Company Intercessors, then yeah, for sure I'd take the Impulsor. But personally, if I'm running Death Company, I'm running Firstborn, just because I think they're better with the jump packs than they are. Like, I'd rather have the extra movement and lose 1 attack, and I guess the Firstborn get more weapon customization options as well. You know, like the Primaris are allowed, like, what is it, a single Thunderhammer or a single Power Fist, whereas like the Firstborn you can have as many Power Fists and Thunderhammers as you want. Gives you a lot more flexibility, I think. So yeah, if you're gonna run the Death Company Intercessors, yes to the Impulsor, but honestly, I'm not sure if they're. I just don't think they're as good as Firstborn still. Maybe once they get jump packs, they'll be able to compete with Firstborn, but right now I'm feeling Firstborn. I'm painting my Infiltrators right now. Do you run 5-man squads? Are they effective in Sol squads? And should I do full size? Oh, sweet sis. Alright, I'm with you. SOB for Sisters of Battle. Sorry. Some people call them like AS for Adeptus Sororitas now, I guess. But yeah, Sisters of Battle. Yeah, that'll be a tough game, the Sisters of Battle game, because I haven't played the exact list, I think, that's running, but it's got a lot of deep strike in it. And it's got a lot of very dangerous deep strike. You know, you've got the Zerafin with those power swords, I think it is. And they can be strength 5 power swords, and you can get like a ton of attacks out for them. And then you've got the Sephirim with those 12-inch infernal pistols coming down as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of pain in that Sisters of Battle list. And I've played it before. And then also you've got the Repentia, who you have to be able to screen effectively, because they just rip your troops apart if you let them into them. So it'll be a cool game. It'll be a tough game, I'm sure, but it'll be a cool game. Next, yeah, Infiltrators. I run them as squads of 5. I run all my troops typically as squads of 5. Infiltrators work fine as squads of 5. I mean, if they're squads of 5, then you get the cheap 1 CB transhuman on them, right? If you need them to survive and hold an objective or something like that for you. So Infiltrators as squads of 5 is fine, but like, up until recently, I was running 2 squads of 5 in every game. It's only recently that I dropped one of the squads of infiltrators. But 2 squads of 5 give you a ton of screening potential, right? Like, you can screen out a huge part of the board because of their 12-inch deep strike denial strat. It's pretty strong. Guy Haley is good. Frank, the most troops are 5-man. Yep. Evening, Pedroig. How you doing? Yeah, a few people think Firstborn are overall better for Blood Angels. Like, the only Primaris units that I'm using in the list that I have at the moment are Blade Guard Veterans, I think. Let me think about this. Do you know what? I need to pull up my list really quickly. I can do that. I've got it on my desktop. Hold on. Yeah, the list I'm using at the moment is... Sorry, so it's got one Infiltrator squad and 1 4-man Blade Guard Veteran squad. And I guess I'm using Redemptor Dreadnoughts, which I guess technically are Primaris. But yeah, in terms of like troops, I'm just using 1 squad of Infiltrators and 1 squad of Blade Guard Veterans. That's all the Primaris that I have in my list. I have regular Sanguinary Guard, I got regular Vanguard Veterans, and then I've got 2 regular Captains. I've got the Sanguinary Priest. I've got regular attack bikes, because the regular ones you can res, unlike the ATVs that you cannot resurrect anymore, whereas like regular bikes with multi-meltas can be resed. And then obviously I've got some Centurions. If you weren't here the other day, I needed to do a little bit of work on the Centurions. Maybe I'm going to have time tonight, but I have been working on these quite a bit. Pretty pleased with how they're coming out. I mean, I've wanted Centurions for the longest time, so these guys are like tiny little bit of work left to do in them, and then I'm going to get transfers on them. So I was hoping to have transfers on them for the game on Monday. My question regarding scouts, I'm working on my first company list. Sure, yeah. I'm not sure what you want to know about scouts, right? Like, scouts, as far as I'm aware, have 3 options. You can have them with bolt guns, you can have them both bolt pistols and combat knives, or you can have them with sniper rifles. I guess you can have this one member of the scout squad can have a missile launcher, right? But like, if I was going to run scouts, I would probably run them with the combat knives, right? Like, the bolters are not really going to do a whole lot of killing. Neither are your sniper rifles. You'd probably be better just running them as combat knives and hoping to get them alive into turn 3 and then use some Savage Echoes love on the enemies. Because like with the combat knife and the Savage Echoes, I forget how many attacks the scouts have, but it's a decent amount, right? Because of the +1 from the combat knife. If it's like other Firstborn Marines, they probably just have 1 attack, so the combat knife gives them 2. So once we get to Savage Echoes, they probably get 3, I would guess. Guess who hasn't got a colour scheme for the army but just bought another 1,000 points? The pile of shame is building. Congratulations on buying another 1,000 points, I guess, when you don't have a colour scheme. I guess I would recommend you pick a colour scheme before you buy anything else then, Robert. The only reason to use scouts and Blood Angels is if you're going pure Firstborn. Elite slots are too valuable to be used as scouts. Yeah, I mean, I have 30 painted scouts, I think, and I haven't run any of them since they changed scouts to elite slots. I don't feel like they're going to be super competitive for the points you have to pay for them. I mean, it was different back in the day when you needed to take the scouts to get your command points, but now that you don't need the scouts for your command points, like, I kind of agree that I don't think scouts are super useful right now. What gold color do you use for Blood Angels? So I do all my gold in the same way, but it depends if the unit is primarily gold, right? Like, if the unit is primarily gold, as in like a Sanguinary Guard or a Captain or like I'm doing my Vanguard veterans in gold, I actually spray them black first, and then I'll spray them Retributor gold afterwards, and then basically I paint the whole model, and then I'd wash the gold at a final step with like Reichland Flesh Shade. And I find what that does is Reichland Flesh Shade is like a bit like Agrax Earth. What is it? Agrax Earth Shade, yeah, sorry, Agrax Earth Shade. But it's got like this little tinge of redness to it. So it changes the gold from sort of like the Retributor gold into almost like a... I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do it justice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab two models, and I'll show you a model that's been sprayed black, has been sprayed with the gold, and then I'll show you a model that's had the full over wash with the Reichland Flesh Shade, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Alright, 1 second, let me grab this model. That black I would explode, it's much too thin. Yeah, I mean this black does seem a bit thin. It is a new pot of paint. I did shake it quite considerably. I mean, we'll shake it a bit more, but it's fine. I put multiple coats on everything anyway, so you know, we'll put another coat over all this anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. Alright, Scotty, let me grab a gold guy. $3,500 points now. I'm thinking Black Templars, but it's in the air if they're going to get much love this edition. Right. So this is a model that's just been sprayed. So he would have been sprayed black, and then he would have been sprayed Retributor gold, right? And it's a very in-your-face gold. And I guess if you see in here between the armor joint, you can see a little bit of like the black peeking through, right? Because it was a spray, so maybe it didn't get 100% coverage on this. And I guess under here, there's some black peeking through as well, right? But like this gold is very in your face. It's like, in a way, you know, like it's too much for me, I guess. So then there's a guy who was the same, but he's been he's had a Reichland Flesh Shade over all of his gold, and you can probably see the most difference. Oops, I just broke his arm because it's magnetized. 1 second. You can probably see the most difference on the top of the jump pack, maybe. Like, you know, so this changes this sort of like overly bright cartoony gold maybe into a more like varnished or a more dull sort of like crimson gold. And that's how I do all my gold characters. So black spray, Retributor armor spray, and then at the end here, we give them the wash of the Reichland Flesh Shade. And like I'm not accurate with that wash. I just wash over the whole model, and that's usually how it comes out. You just try not to let it pool anywhere too much. My question cruelly overlooked. No, I answered your question, Gitly, in Discord. It just took me I forgot about it last night, and then I think I did it later on in the evening. Sorry. I've upgraded to blue helmet today, and my sergeant just blessed me with a multi-melta to carry. I am a happy firstborn Marine. How do you paint the wings on the shoulder pads? I really like them. Did this guy have wings? Oh right. I do all these wings. It's super easy. And I do the exact so this is the same thing that I do on all my Sanguinary Guard, and you know what? I just did it on my chaplain. My librarian earlier today. He's just finished. Well, he's not quite finished. I need to neaten up his hazard stripes that I was doing earlier. But this bit up here as well, it's hard to see that actually. But yeah, it's very simple. It's undercoat with Celestial Grey, then just a Nuln Oil wash, and then a dry brush of Praxi White. And I can't remember where I learned that scheme from, but ever since do you know what? It might have been one of the older schemes that like Games Workshop showed on one of their channel way back when. But it's super simple to do, right? It's just like an undercoat, a wash, and then a dry brush, and I think it looks really good. People always say it looks really good, and it's like one of the easiest things that I do. Best non-relic anti-chaff melee weapon. Well, I mean, it's probably going to be something like the Bladeguard Veterans Mastercrafted Power Swords or something, right? Well, do you know what? Anti-chaff, it would be Lightning Claws on the Vanguard Veterans, actually, yeah. I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of that first. Vanguard Veterans are great this edition with Lightning Claws, so I think for sure it would be Lightning Claws Vanguard Vets. Maybe Bladeguard are like up there close behind, but yeah, I think it would be the Vanguards. No worries, John. I checked back and didn't see it. Got it now. Yeah, yeah. Everyone's agreeing Lightning Claws. Well, Tony's saying Chainsaw. I mean, I guess if it's really crap, like if it's Poxwalkers or something, you're just clearing out. Then yeah, Chainswords are fine. But I guess Chaff can cover a lot of things. Against anything slightly stronger that has a decent save, then the Lightning Claws are going to do very well because the reroll to wounds, and also because they're -2 or -3 when we get to Savage Echoes. So, or sorry, not Savage Echoes, Assault Doctrine. But it's kind of the same thing, I guess. Do you know what? I do not enjoy painting over a grey spray. I'll tell you that right now. I don't know if it's just this black or if it's just the grey spray, but yeah, I don't enjoy it. Angelus bolt guns can put out some damage. Yeah, I mean, you said melee, but you're right. Angelus bolt guns are very... That's kind of why I like Sanguinary Guard with Angelus bolt guns, right? Because they just... With them being increased to 18 inches, you can usually do a bit of work with those Angelus bolt guns. Especially, you know, if you're near your Warlord, you get the +1 to your hits. Sometimes if you're near your Warlord, and in my case, my Warlord's a Chapter Master, it's usually like +1 to your hits and then reroll ones, so... You're pretty much just almost guaranteed to hit with all your Angelus bolt guns, and they will do a decent amount of work, you know, just because it usually turns out that I'm shooting the Angelus bolt guns the most in turn 2 as well, right? Because like turn 1 you don't usually get into combat, turn 2 you're usually getting to shoot before you jump into combat, so it usually turns out that you're shooting the Angelus bolt guns in turn 2, and what that actually means is that then they're -2, right? Because of Tactical Doctrine. So I feel like the Angelus bolt guns is actually, you know, they're fairly legit at clearing out trash units, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we've got a lot going on the channel at the moment. So obviously we got the Hangout tonight. Tomorrow we've got our live show at 4 o'clock where we look over army lists, and then on Monday we got live game against the Sisters, and then if everything plans out, I plan to make another video tomorrow night, so hopefully we'll have content out on Tuesday as well, which will be I've already made all the slides, which will be another one where we look at a competitive army list. Like a tournament. It's not a tournament winning army list, but it's a tournament placing army list. So it's a Blood Angels army list that just placed really high in a large tournament. So we're going to look at that hopefully on... I guess it'll probably be Tuesday night. So basically we're going to have content every night for the next 3 or 4 nights in a row. So yeah, it's kind of all go for the channel at the moment. So if you haven't subscribed yet on Twitch or on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Alright. Probably just going to let that black dry for a few minutes. Maybe we'll just see if there's any bits that didn't come up too well. Oh, maybe we'll paint those underneath bits as well. Cool. I appreciate everybody that's hitting the like button as well. I'm seeing some pop-ups on likes, so thank you for that too. And yeah, we actually felt like our Redemptor Dreadnoughts did a lot of work last week. I kind of want to get a second one that's got the Onslaught cannon on it, but for the moment I'm going to continue to run the Death Company captain on a bike for a few more battles, right? He did okay against the Custodes, but like he whiffed one of his major attacks. Now I guess like I don't want to judge him too badly because like he did have 11 attacks and he did hit on 2s. I think he only ended up doing like 2 damage, but you know, there was just a terrible dice roll for him. So I think we're going to try him a few more times, and also I positioned him really badly as well, so there was that. So we're going to try the Death Company captain on a bike a couple more games and see if we can get some value out of him, because I do kind of like some of the Death Vision rules. I know some people don't like them, but like I kind of like them. And I guess we'll you know, once we've played him a few times, we'll decide if we feel like he's got value rather than just dropping him because he fluffed his attacks in one game. I think that's a better idea than just instantly dropping him because he didn't do so well. I did actually look at like if I did drop him, we could bring the Librarian Dreadnought, which we know always does a ton of work for Blood Angels. So I guess, you know, we could look at that, but I think for the moment we'll just wait a little while before we drop him. I kind of want to put some red on this plasma, but I don't know where I could do it. I mean, maybe this armor section under here might look okay in red. Thank you for the chat last night. Oh, no, it's fine, Mark. Welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, what is everybody working on in chat tonight then? Like, what are you up to on Saturday night? Let us know. And someone on Discord earlier actually wanted a picture of a Primaris captain on a bike next to a regular captain on a bike. So I haven't had a chance to take that photo yet, but I will take it. And when I take it, I will share it. So I'll do it after. I have to use the phone as the camera that's looking at. That's like the overhead camera at the moment. So yeah, I can't take photos right now, but I will take a photo after the stream and I'll share it so you can see the difference in size. I want to say they're about 3/4 the size of an Outrider, the regular captains on a bike. Like, it's not a huge difference. I mean, there is a difference, but it's not massive. Do the Death Company on the bike while you're at it. I mean, the Death Company on the bike is the exact same size as the Chapter Master on the bike, right? Like, they are just the same model, just painted differently. Is that what you're asking, Spectiner? I'm having a beer and relaxing. Nice, man. Do you know what? I can't remember the last time I had a beer, I guess, because of all the lockdown nonsense. But whenever pubs get back open, I will be having a beer for sure, I feel like. But yeah, I've been thinking a bit about the double patrol list actually, or the patrol in the Vanguard list, and I think I'm probably going to share it at some point, because I feel like a double patrol or a Vanguard list for the Blood Angels is actually fine, right? I guess we'll see. I'll probably end up losing a game where I get out obsec really badly, but until that happens, I feel like it's probably fine. And do you know what? The list that we're looking at on Tuesday night, the tournament list, is actually the same thing as what I'm running, which is like one patrol, one Vanguard. So I mean, I guess top end tournament players are doing this strategy as well. And they're getting, they're placing high in tournaments using one Vanguard, one Patrol. Get your Scotch out and take a shot. I mean, I could. It's very tempting. It's been a little while since I've drunk Scotch, man. Maybe we need another video where we drink Scotch on the video. That was a fun one to make. I need to start painting. I got Blood Angels all built, but it's daunting to stare at 1,000 unpainted points. I mean, the best way to to think about it is just not look at the number of points and just get started, man. You can get hung up on trying to get started, and when the best thing you can do is just go ahead and get started, I guess. So I'm just touching up this gun that we, this was the easy build gun that we sliced off the other night. So we actually got it off more cleanly than I thought it would come off, but I guess because it's off now, I guess there's some bits of this that I can actually get access to before where I really couldn't get paint into. And the paint might not stick too well to it because it's actually already been previously varnished. So we're just going to try and tidy up a tiny little bit here, and kind of hope that the paint stays. I think that'll be okay. And I was gonna put some wash into this joint again. You couldn't see into this joint before, and I guess you can see in there now. New drinking game. Take a shot every time you mention super heavy tanks or 8-game win streak. I got... We could do a drinking game one night. That would be pretty fun, I guess. I saw this guy yesterday on stream get peer pressured by chat into buying a Soaker pattern Stormbird. Well, I'm not going to be peer pressured into buying. I have so much unpainted stuff. I have a super heavy tank that's unpainted. So if anything, if there's any peer pressure, it would be to actually start some of the models that I need to start and finish, I would have thought. I'm going to have to tidy this up afterwards. I'm just slopping some wash in here. You're probably not going to be able to see it too well since it's underneath his arm anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of wash in here just so we'll try and tidy that bit up afterwards. There's another mistake there as well that I guess I didn't see before because we wouldn't have been able to access that bit of his while the easy to build section was stuck on there. And I guess there's some chipping here as well, because I guess when we were trying to cut the arm off, we chipped the paint in a few places, so we'll just try and maybe touch up some of these chips. Thing is, sometimes when they're chipped on these little corners and stuff, like even if you touch it up, the paint won't stick, and then you'll just end up with another chip, so it's fine, I guess. Good evening, people. It would be Jameson for me. Sorry, my Scottish. Evening, Mick. Do you know what, Mick? I don't actually know if I've ever really drunk Jameson whiskey. I assume it's similar to like Famous Grouse or something. It's just the main brand that everybody drinks when they're looking for like a average price whiskey, right? I am all hobbied out today after building 3 interceptors. Yes, just 3. Yeah, I mean sometimes it can be easy to be hobbied out. Yeah, we're gonna come back to that gun. It's annoying me. Not sure if anyone else feels the same, but I love the music that plays in the background of the stream. It should be distracting, but really isn't. Well, I'm glad that you like the music. I mean, it's just like random royalty-free music that I bought. But yeah, I mean, I guess I've had good value out of it because I use the same like 20 tracks on every stream. I was thinking just the other day that I need to get like 20 more tracks so that we have a bit more variation, but you know, I guess that'll come. I'm not fond of the peat taste of Scotch. You know, no, do you know what? I don't really drink peaty Scotch either. I much prefer like caramel flavors, or you know, like more non-peated stuff. I mean, it's just the way that they. I think maybe if you like cigarettes and stuff, maybe you prefer the smoky taste. But yeah, I generally keep away from smoky Scotch. When I was doing these guys before, I kind of missed the fact that these back parts of the flamers, like sometimes with guns I'll leave parts of them black, you know, like I guess partly because I can't be bothered painting them maybe, but partly because you won't really notice them. But with these flamers, and just that there's a lot of black on these arms, I guess because of the big drills, I decided that when I was looking at them earlier, I was right, I'm just going to put a bit of silver on the back of the flamer, and then I think that breaks up this big swatch of black here, and that'll kind of finish these Centurions off. This is the first time I've ever painted Centurions, so chipping battle damage is a design feature, not a mistake. I mean, it is a design feature if you've done it right. I think on my models, chipping is because I've done it wrong. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some people that have done amazing work with like battle damage and chipping. But yeah, I guess that's not me. I don't drink Scotch or whiskey. I'm all about the rum or vodka. I mean, rum's nice. I actually have a rum Scotch So the Scotch is matured in like Scotch barrels for like 10 years, and then it's put into a rum barrel for the final few years. So if you like rum and you're not a huge Scotch fan, maybe that's the Scotch you should try, because you'd probably quite like it. You know, it's kind of a weird drink because like when you taste it, tastes like Scotch, but then the aftertaste is all rum. But I like rum as well, so for me it's one of my favorite drinks. If you like caramel flavors, I can recommend Wild Turkey Rare Breed. And if you like toffee, yeah, I like toffee fee actually as well. Do you know what? I have a few really caramelly flavored scotches, and yeah, those bottles get destroyed way too quickly. Do you know what? I've got one that tastes a bit like Christmas cake as well. That's a good combination in Scotch, sort of like the warm, hearty, cinnamony, apple pie, Christmassy sort of feel. I've got a couple of bottles like that, and that's the sort of ones that I really enjoy. So yeah, maybe in a few weeks' time, once the lockdown ends fully, maybe we'll have a drinking stream or something. Or maybe we could have a game where, do you know what? We could have a game where every single time you lose a model, or not a model, you lose a unit, you have to drink a shot. That would be an interesting game. So if you keep your model, like if you keep one model alive in the unit and the unit doesn't die, you don't have to drink. But if you if you lose the whole unit, or like if it's a vehicle and the vehicle dies, then you have to drink. That could be a fun game. I'm not sure if there's any other channels that are doing 40k meets drinking games, though. I mean, maybe I found a new niche for YouTube. I could see it going one of two ways, because once you have to start taking those first shots, you might end up getting struggling with some of your tactical decisions, and it could be like a bit of a, could go either way, right? When a unit dies, drink for how many wounds it has. Bloody hell, you're a sadist, Spec Tiger. You'd lose about 2 units and you'd be destroyed. Yeah, that's a dangerous game if you res a unit with your apothecary, yeah, and you've got one guy well, I mean, in my case it wouldn't be that dangerous because we just forget to resurrect our guys, so we'd be fine. But you know, other people might have problems with that. We don't need to resurrect our guys anyway. We win the game even with forgetting to resurrect our 55-point model, which is bloody ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully we won't do that again. Take a drink every time you gain or spend CP. Do you know what? I drink whiskey straight, man. I prefer it straight. Like, sometimes I might put a tiny bit of ice in it, but for the most part, no, I don't drink it with anything in there. Or do you know what? Sometimes I might put a tiny bit of water in there as well, if it's like, because I read this thing that said if whiskey's over 40%, you're supposed to put some water in it, because over 40% the alcohol will like, what was it? It was the alcohol will like overpower some of the flavors you'd get from the whiskey, right? So if your whiskey's bottled at like 46%, for example, you're supposed to put enough water in there so it's like you bring it back down to 40%, because over 40% apparently the alcohol flavor makes it, or the alcohol starts to overpower. So I guess that's why a lot of like whiskeys on the shelves, or a lot of drinks, spirits on the shelves, are at 40%. And quite often, like, you can get whiskey that's bottled at 60%, right? So like if you get a 60% whiskey, then you need to be putting enough water in it, like a decent bit of water actually. So I guess if you got like a 60% whiskey, it's actually a bit more than a single bottle, right? Because by the time you actually water that down to 40%, you probably got like an extra half bottle in there. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not 100% sure if that is accurate, but because I live in Scotland, I go, when people come to visit here, we end up going to distillery tours. So I've been on more distillery tours than I can care to remember. And I'm pretty sure it was one of the distillery tours that they said that, like, they bottle their whiskey above 40%, but they expect people to put a bit of water into it. Otherwise, it's just too much alcohol or whatnot. Not that you normally complain if there's too much alcohol in your drink, but I guess in this case, it matters. What colour helmets should Outriders be? I think they should be yellow helmets. I am actually painting my Outriders Death Company colours just cause, but they are sort of close support, I would have said. Does King Ice Cube count as flavouring whiskey? Like, if it's just one big ice cube, no, I wouldn't have thought that counted as flavouring it. I mean, I made these Centurion yellow helmets, right, because they're close support. I mean, I think you could probably argue Centurions could have red helmets as well, but yeah, no, I thought it made sense to go yellow. People over harping about single malt, no ice, no water, kill newcomers. You got to start newcomers on the rock. Seriously, wipe them up to plain single malts. Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about, like, it can be difficult to be a newcomer to whiskey. And do you know what? If you are a newcomer, now some people in Scotland will murder me for saying this, but if you're a newcomer and you're not, like, you want to get into whiskey, right, but you don't like whiskey, because, like, no one just wakes up one day and goes, wow, I love the taste of whiskey, right? Because it's like, it's definitely an acquired taste, and it's quite a strong taste, right? Like, if you're not used to it, and if you're not used to that level of alcohol, then it's going to be tough to just suddenly come along and just drink any whiskey and suddenly like it. So what I would actually say to people is, like, get, like, cocktails to start with, and, like, you can go to some places and you can get, like, whiskey, like, and you can get it in a highball glass, so it's almost like it's 200 mils, but it's only like 25 mils of whiskey. But I mean, if in doubt, I would even be tempted to say, just, like, buy a cheap whiskey and just learn, like, if you go to the bar normally and you drink vodka and Coke, for example, because a lot of people drink that, right? I would just say, like, just go to the bar and order whiskey and Coke, and just the cheapest whiskey they have at the bar, and just, if you want to learn, if you want to get into whiskey, then start with a mixer that you like, right? Like, if you like Coca-Cola is a reasonably strong taste. You could totally enjoy whiskey and Coke, and then over time just start pouring less Coke, right? So it's like you're getting more whiskey and just get used to the taste. But yeah, when I started whiskey, I just started it because I was already drunk, and I was like, we should now drink whiskey, and it was just like, I guess if you do that enough times as well, you can get into whiskey that way too. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're probably right when you say, like, if you don't have some sort of way to get into whiskey, then it can be difficult for newcomers, unless they're determined, right? I guess if someone's determined that they want to like whiskey, then you can make yourself like whiskey. I actually read an article one time because my wife doesn't drink coffee, right? She hates the taste of coffee, and like I don't drink as much coffee as I used to, right? I used to drink like 10 cups of coffee a day, but I used to get like headaches all the time, right? And I didn't know why I was getting headaches all the time, and I was like, one day I just decided like to try not drink so much coffee, basically. And I used to smoke cigarettes as well, so I basically smoked and drunk coffee, and I guess I was always jacked up on nicotine, or was always jacked up on caffeine, and this is why I was getting headaches, right? So I quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit drinking coffee down to the point where like I just maybe have like a coffee a day if I'm feeling really tired, right? So it's not like a regular habit. And by doing that, yeah, back to my story. Like my wife doesn't like coffee, and I read this thing that said like, if you don't like something, all you need to actually do is have it 10 times, and then like by the 10th time, your brain will sort of like, you might still not like it, but your brain might be like okay, we've had this 10 times, this is acceptable. So like so my plan was to get my wife to drink coffee, because the problem is if you've got someone in your house that drinks coffee and the other person doesn't, then they never make a good cup of coffee, right? So like I can never get my wife to make me a cup of coffee because she doesn't drink coffee. She'll never make a good cup of coffee. So I thought like I'll get her to drink coffee, and then when I want a coffee, she can make it because she'll know how to make a good cup of coffee. So she tried it like 2 or 3 times, and then she was one of the times, like I remember just coming into the living room with 2 cups after dinner, and I was like, she's like, what have you got there? And I was like, oh, it's your coffee. And she's like, get out, or something, right? Like she just wasn't going to go for the 10 times. She only did like 3 times. But I think there is some merit to that analogy, right? Like if you just want to like something, just try it 10 times, and maybe by number 10, you'll like it. Oh yeah, the clocks do go forward an hour tonight. So I guess like it's the live show tomorrow. Someone, I think it was Adam, mentioned to me that I need to tell people the live show tomorrow will be 1 hour earlier than it was last week, for anyone that's not in UK or daylight savings. So actually right now it's 5 to 11, but it's about to be 5 to midnight, I guess, because the clocks change here in the UK tonight. I'd completely forgotten. So I'll probably, like, I have an alarm that I keep on Saturdays that wakes me up at 7, so it'll probably wake me up at 7 and I'll feel like super tired, and I'll be like, why am I so tired? Then I'll remember that the clock's changed. Alright, did we do all these flamer bits? I think we did. No, we didn't do this one yet. Okay. Did you know how to do blow smoke tricks? I mean, I can blow smoke rings, but that's where it stops. And the reason that I can blow smoke rings is because for a long time I was using one of those e-cigarettes that shoots out like a stupid amount of well, it's not smoke, is it? It's like vapor, right? So I was using an e-cigarette that, like, I don't know, this thing was like this thing was putting out serious clouds of vapor, right? So yeah, I could blow smoke rings using that. My wife stopped buying Starbucks and started brewing coffee. She hated coffee, now she drinks 2 pots a day. Okay. I mean, Starbucks is the most overpriced thing in the world, right? Like a black coffee at Starbucks costs more than than what it costs you to buy coffee for a month. I mean, Starbucks is, I don't even know if it's that good in my personal opinion. Like, I think it's okay. Like, I think if you need a cup of coffee, like, it's an okay cup of coffee, but it's not like, for the price, I would expect it to be out of this world, and I'm not sure if I ever felt like it was out of this world. So last night, people gave me, was it last night? It was 8.5 out of 10 or 7.5 out of 10 for my conversion on the Dreadnought. What do people think of the paint job on the Centurions? Do you like the Centurions? I mean, it's not quite finished, but I'd say it's like 95% finished. I'm gonna just finish up these flamers probably and then put transfers on them. Got 3 Outriders to paint in 2 days now. Easy, right? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound too hard. It depends on how much time you get in the next 2 days, Gitley. I stopped smoking just over 9 years ago, 8 years ago. I stopped smoking in 2017, and it was August time. So for me, I guess it's been coming up on 4 years. But I'd moved to e-cigarettes for about I think it was at least 2 or 3 years I was in e-cigarettes. So probably stopped actual cigarettes like 7 years ago or something like that now. Better than I can do. 8 out of 10. Oh, thanks, Mark. 8 out of 10. I'll take that. I mean, as I say, I amn't the greatest painter, but I do try and give them, I do try and put a good bit of time into the models, and these Warhammer models in general, I think are quite expensive, so I feel like they're worth putting the time in. Solid paint job. You want one Golden Demon, but will look good on the board. Yeah, I mean, I'm only ever going for battle ready, right? And yeah, I don't typically do too much edge highlighting there, Tony. The battle, I do edge. Do you know what? Like, I think it just depends on the color scheme. Because like this librarian, I mean, he's not great either, but like I did edge highlight his blue, because I felt like the blue would pop a bit more with the edge highlighting. So I'm going to clean up his hazard stripes tomorrow, and then I think I'm just going to call him done. He's super close. But yeah, I'm more of a tabletop. Like you said, I'm not going to win Golden Demon. I'm not even going to enter Golden Demon, so I'm not worried about that. Centurions are a pain to paint. 9? Wow. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that. Do you think Assault Centurions are a good pick, or are you painting them for fun? I'm running them in my current list, man. If you tune in on Monday night, you'll see me play against Sisters of Battle with them in my list. So, I mean, they are questionable. As in, like, I don't think they're the most competitive thing out there. But, I mean, they are toughness 5. They are a 2+ save. I do have a selfless healer apothecary in my army, so they are 55 points of model. And I can bring them back to life, And if they don't kill them, then again, I can res them. So, sorry, if they don't kill them, I can heal them as well with the healer. So, yeah, I'm using them. And I'm probably going to use them until I lose a game, right? Like, typically I try and stick with a similar list till I lose. And then once I've lost, try and analyze, like, what I lost, why I lost, what could be better. So, I've wanted Centurions for ages, honestly. I always thought they looked cool, and I wanted some. So now that we're allowed them, I figured I'd get some, and yeah, I'm gonna. Hopefully, we're gonna go on a bit of a win streak, because I feel like the list that I've got built at the moment is pretty strong, and everybody's I was gonna say everybody's feeling a bit rough in terms of no one's really been able to play for like 6 months, right, because of COVID and stuff. So I've played 3 games, just sort of coming back out of that, and I guess everybody's feeling a bit rough, and like people are struggling to even remember some of the rules because we haven't played in 3 months, and I guess because some people are feeling a little bit rough as well. I feel like, hopefully I'm getting rid of my mistakes again, and we're going to go on a win streak with the Centurions on the list. And let's see. And do you know what? If we don't go on a win streak and the Centurions do crap, then don't worry, we'll drop them at some point. Let's just move this a tiny bit. Alright, Mark, take care. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night / evening. I wouldn't be a fan of edge highlighting. I mean, I think it can look good. I definitely think edge highlighting has its place, and it can look very good on some models. I don't do it on my guys in red, but I mean, I've seen plenty of other people do it, and I've seen plenty of other people make it look really good. So. I've got a little bit of dirt on this model, and I'm going to try and get it off, maybe with this knife. Yeah, there we go. Cool. When did you say you're playing Sisters of Battle? So it's Monday night, and we're now going to be live every Monday night. I mean, there might be the odd Monday that we're not live, but for the most part, we will be live every Monday on the channel around 7:30 UK time. So probably the game will be beginning between sort of 7:30 and 8, depending on how long it takes us to get all set up. And yeah, that'll be every Monday night going forward, for the foreseeable future anyway, hopefully. And the only reason that I've not actually created a playlist yet that's super easy to find on the channel, Corbin, is because we only the Monday night show we've only had 1 episode. So once we've got 3 or 4 episodes, we'll create a playlist so it's very easy to find the Monday night battles. Just seems a bit strange to have a playlist with one single battle in it, I guess. So in a few weeks' time, basically on the Blood Angels Commander homepage, you'll be able to find the playlist with all the previous battles, I guess. That's the plan, anyway. Drinking and smoking. What would Sanguinius say? I think Dante does a fair bit of drinking. I think you'll find, Marcus, if you read the books, Dante is always drinking wine, and I think Dante drinks wine like it goes out of fashion, right? Because Space Marines aren't really affected by alcohol all that much, so pretty sure Dante does a lot of drinking. Not so sure he does much smoking, but he definitely does drinking. So I guess he'd probably approve of the drinking part anyway. Space Marines beg for edge highlighting. Yeah, I mean, some of them certainly do, and my real issue with my Space Marines is I've been painting them the same way since the early 90s. So I have an issue where I don't want to change my scheme. So maybe if I was starting now, I would edge highlight all the guys in red, but because I'm trying to keep them to look the same as the guys that I started painting in the early 90s, I don't do edge highlighting. I do basically washes into the recesses and then leave it like that. I enjoy doing nice paint jobs on miniatures and then dropping them on the floor during games. Yeah, Clint, you're 100% right. I always joke about, like, seeing my day-to-day life. Like, you know, of a normal day in the life of myself, I will drop, on average, nothing. You know, like, maybe once a week I'll drop a pen. Maybe once a month I'll drop a bit of cutlery. So on average in a year I'll drop maybe, like, let's say 10 things. And then the second you get your Space Marines together or your models together, I will suddenly start dropping stuff, like, on average, like, once a day. It's like if you had to make your own fork, for example, and you only had one fork and you were really proud of your fork, then you probably end up dropping your fork all the time. It's some sort of mad law of the universe where the more time you spent on something and the more pride you have in it, the more chance you have for dropping it. It feels like, but yeah, that's very much how I feel about it. Hey Vincent, thanks for subscribing. How you doing? Good evening, man. The only thing I would consider doing edge highlighting on would be tanks. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, some people love edge highlighting, some people don't. I guess it's personal preference. I think you can get an okay feel with washes, and if you're just going to be battle ready and you're not worried, like I am, you're not worried about ever winning a painting competition, you just want people to say, hey, that army looks decent or that army looks cool, then I think you can do that without edge highlighting. I mean, I do a bit of edge highlighting. Obviously, I showed you that character just a minute ago who's edge highlighted. I edge highlight all my models that are in black. So, like Death Company, I never really knew how to paint black effectively without doing edge highlighting. I probably still don't actually. So I Death Company models, all my Death Company are edge highlighted. But I don't think you have to edge highlight if you don't want to as a Marine player. I think if you want to sort of go for that heavy metal, super high quality style that Games Workshop do, then you need to edge highlight it for sure. But if you're just trying to have something on the table that looks semi decent and get along and have a game or two, then I think you can do that pretty effectively without edge highlighting. What do you transport your big Forge World models in? I actually transport the giant Forge World model in a shoebox with a shitload of, like, the sort of, like, the foam you get from, like, when you buy cases where you slot your models in and you get all these extra bits of foam that you pull out the case. So I kind of have my biggest Forge World models in shoe boxes, and they're, like, wrapped with tons of that foam in them. So that's what I do. I actually emailed the case company that I have my cases with and said, like, hey, do you guys do foam for the biggest, like, Forge World models? And they never got back to me. I actually tried to chase them up a couple of times on that. So I guess the answer is no, because they never got back to me on that. Isn't Dante suicidal, like the only live because of a text that says he will say the Emperor? I'm not sure what you're trying to say, Corbin. He will save the Emperor. I mean, there's some sort of prophecy around Dante, I believe. I don't entirely know what it is myself. It was sort of mentioned in the books that, like, there was something that he was going to do that was going to be epic, but they didn't quite allude to exactly what it was. So I do think something's going to happen with Dante, but I guess we just don't fully quite know what it is yet. But I mean, I recently read a document that it was an official Games Workshop document, so it was, like, published on the Warhammer community site, and they basically said that, like, the Blood Angels have overtaken the Ultramarines as the most popular faction, I believe, now. So if the Blood Angels are the most popular faction in terms of raw numbers of players playing Blood Angels, then you would really think that they would want to do something with their Chapter Master to, if nothing else, just to sell more Chapter Masters, right? Like, if they built a new Dante and we are the most popular faction, then argument says that most people will go and buy said new Dante. I mean, most people have been crying out for Primaris Dante since Primaris models were announced almost, right? So, to me it seems like I would expect there to be something for Dante before too long. I developed a way of painting black models so I don't have to edge highlight. It's not amazing, but it works for me and I'm happy with it. Anyone fly with their models, and would you do that / carry on? Do you know what? I haven't flown with my models before at Interspatial, and you know, I was speaking a little bit with the guys last night on Discord about that, and I think it's risky. I think is probably what, like, I guess if you put them in the hold, things will probably get broken, right? Because they'll just get thrown into the hold, no doubt. And I guess if you can carry on them, that possibly will be okay. But like some of the, you might have to go first class to make carry on work, because like or business class, so you get more carry on allowance, because in cattle class or economy class, whatever you want to call it, you might struggle to fit a decent sized army into the carry on size you're allowed, right? Like, I feel like that's probably what would happen. Sang literally said to Dante, "Sorry you can't die yet" at Baal. Poor guy was begging not for his life. Yeah, Dante had a vision with Sanguinius in it, I think, right? At the Baal... Sorry, in the Devastation of Baal book, I think. Do you know what? It's been a while since I read those books. I guess I need to read all of them again. I was reading Solar War earlier today, so I'm trying to bash through that, and then I'm probably going to read the Blood Angels books again, just so I'm a bit more knowledgeable for when people ask questions. But Solar War seems like it's going to be a pretty cool book. I'm on like chapter 11 now, and I guess, yeah, I mean, it seems like it's going to be an interesting series. From what I've read, anyway. The vision was predicted before his death, that the hands of Horus, a lone golden warrior, would ultimately stand between the Emperor of mankind and his destruction. Dante believes this refers to him. Yeah, I mean, if that is going to be the case, I guess like that's going to be a bit away from the story, because like where the story is right now, I guess like Dante and the Blood Angels are an Imperial Nihilist, right? Which is like pretty disjointed from the rest of the Emperor, and obviously Terra itself, where the Emperor obviously is. So maybe there's going to be a bunch of books before we get there. I mean, it's no bad thing, I suppose, like if you like Blood Angels lore and you want to get more books, and I definitely want more books in that series, but I just don't like having to wait so long. You know, I used to read some other series where you used to get like a book every 6 months or every year, and like I generally like that more than having to wait 2-3 years, because like I'm saying, like I was like, oh, I don't remember that book, because if they leave too long of a gap between them, you know, like my old man brain now doesn't retain information as well as it used to, I guess. What is the Sanguiner exactly? So the Sanguiner... Someone in chat will probably have a better answer than me on the Sanguiner, but like the Sanguiner is in the warp at the moment, and he's like fighting demons, I guess, in the warp, and the Blood Angels are able to use him to make warp travel possible, because where the warp is right now, like other factions and stuff can't traverse the warp. I can't remember exactly why they can't traverse the warp. I believe there's some sort of beacon that normally you can see in the warp from Terra, and the beacon has been shrouded or something like that by the forces of chaos. So the Sanguiner is in the warp, and the Blood Angels can use him. But there was a rumor for a while that like the Sanguiner was like an older version, or sorry, like an older captain of the Sanguiner Guard, but they've never really said exactly who he is. But there is I believe there is a Horus Heresy book that focuses on him. Someone will probably link it in the chat. I think it was called like Sanguine or something. But I haven't read that one either. I'm really bad on the lore stuff. Like I used to spend more time reading it, but I guess recently I've been trying to get really competitive, so I've been painting a lot. Like I probably spend 20 hours a week painting. So like I'm always painting, and as such I don't spend so much time reading lore, I guess. Probably have to be doing a little bit less painting soon if we're getting back into weekly games, but like I do really want to do the weekly games, so it's fine to have to sacrifice a bit of painting for that. The beacon's at Cadia. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought there was some sort of beacon. What do you think of GW paint pots, and what is your favourite paint company? You know, I use the GW paint pots. I don't think they're as good as some of the other companies' paint pots, but I mean, again, it comes back to the fact that I was using GW paints for a long time when I didn't have any knowledge. Like when I first started the hobby, I was just using GW paints, and as such, half my army was painted with GW paints. So once you've done that, it makes it very difficult to change. So I guess I don't have a strong opinion on other brands, because, you know, I'm kind of stuck with continuing to try and match 100% my army to what I've already done. So I guess that's where I stand on paint colors. When the rift opened, it cut the Imperium in half, and it cut off the northern half from the beacon, and Baal is in the northern half. Yeah, so if you're in the northern half of the Imperium, then warp travel is damn near impossible, unless you're being... So apparently the Blood Angels are going out to different systems in the northern part, because they have the advantage of the Sanguiner, and they're using the Sanguiner to help rescue people, and they're bringing them back to Baal, or to the Baal system, to make, like... Anyway, I guess this is why Dante is now Lord of Imperium Nihilus, because like he is pretty much in charge of organizing the whole north of the Imperium, and this is why I guess he's not going to die anytime soon. But at the same time, I think this is why they probably should Primaris him, right? But I really hope if they do Primaris him, they do something more than they did for Mephiston, because Mephiston just got +1 wound, +1 toughness, which felt really quite lackluster. So they can't see the Astronomicon across the Great Rift, so Mephisto and the Sanguiner help Blood Angel's ship navigate the warp. The Book of Baal needs a proper big screen production. The dialogue was fantastic in the book. Evening Brother, what do you think of an Imperial Knight might be worth using, or the benefits not worth the cost? I think if you want to have some sort of heavy support, Which I guess is what you're looking for, Alatan. You need to just consider buying something from the Forge World list, because I think the Imperium Knight taking away your doctrines is too much to lose, honestly. Do you base in Mephiston Red or a different red? Yeah, so I base in Mephiston Red, and then I do pretty much Evil Sun Scarlet over most of it. So the Centurions that were on stream just a minute ago, they're like mostly, well, they would have been based completely in Evil Sun. Sorry, they'd be based completely in Mephiston Red, but then like they have Evil Sun Scarlet painted almost over all the panels completely, maybe just leaving some nooks and crannies to give it a bit of depth. Let me see. Like these panels here are all Evil Sun. Maybe in there's some panels that are still Mephiston Red. Maybe like under here there's some bits that are still just Mephiston Red, but for the most, and like it's kind of a mix to get different red tones. I mean, you can maybe see it on some of these bits where it's like there's a Mephiston Red and Evil Sun Scarlet on that bit of the hand, and it just gives you sort of like a little bit of different tones. But yeah, I do base in Mephiston Red, and then I go over with the Evil Sun. Mephiston had to go through a lot for that +1 wound and 1 toughness. Yeah, he did go through a lot in the book for it, didn't he? And like, the thing about Mephiston in the book is like, or all the books that have Mephiston in it, he's a lot more powerful in the books than he does appear to be on the tabletop, which is not always true of characters, you know. Like, it seems a bit unfair to Mephiston. Like, to make Mephiston as strong as he is in the book, they could probably put another 100 points in his cost, you know? They could probably give him like 2 or 3 more wounds. They could probably give him, like, his sword could be a bit stronger. Maybe he could cast a 3rd power. You know, maybe like he would be able to get a better warlord trait, because here's the chief librarian, so you could argue he could have psychic mastery. And then I guess, like, if Mephiston was 100 points more, but you had all that going for him, would more people maybe consider Mephiston a top tier pick? I mean, maybe. Oh, you should probably get an invulnerable save as well. I think it's a bit dumb that Mephiston, of all characters, doesn't have an invulnerable save. He's supposed to be like our strongest character, or, you know, like, he's on the front cover of the book with Dante and that. So the fact he doesn't have an invulnerable save is a little annoying as well, I think. Yeah, I think a lot of people would pay the points for it, Gitley. It does seem a little bit weird that he is. You know, like, I was so excited when I saw the new model for him. I was like, oh my god, Primaris Mephiston, this guy's going to be an absolute baller, you know? Like, I was so excited, and then it was like when you actually got the codex and was like, oh, he gets 1 extra attack and he gets 1 extra wound. I mean, and his sword still randomly D3, which is kind of annoying, because if you've got this big expensive character, you want to at least be able to predict what his damage output is going to be, you know? If you look at, like, Typhus, for example, in the Death Guard, like, Typhus is, 175 points? So is that, I think Typhus is basically 20 more points than Mephiston, and, like, you know, like, his sword is like a flat 3 damage, you know? Like, it's a big difference, especially when you come up against, like, tough vehicles and stuff like that. You know, the D3 against flat 3 is yeah, it's a big difference, I guess. So I'm just making this up a little bit as I go along with this plasma cannon. I'm just going to put some brass scorpion on some of these outer panels to sort of give it, just to break up all the metal a little bit. I like contrast paint for the speed on infantry. 2 coats, dry brush of Evil Sun Scarlet from Light Source, and then edge highlight. Then move edge type Astaroth Red dry brush. I mean, yeah. I mean, what works for you, man? And, you know, if you get a good result from it and you're happy from it, then more power to you. You know, I never really got onto the contrast paint bandwagon, and again, it's just because all my models are painted the same way, pretty much. So, yeah, I never quite got onto that bandwagon, but you know, if it works for you, like, don't let anyone knock it. You know, back in second edition, Mephiston had some other rules that were really fun as well. Like, he had a rule that could reduce the opponent's weapon skill to 0, I believe, for like a round of combat or something like that, which was pretty cool. And he also had an interesting rule that when he killed opponents in combat, there was a chance that he just stopped and feasted on their blood for a turn or something like that. So, yeah, he was, you know, he had a bit more fluff to him back in the day, and I would have liked to see a little bit more come out of his Primaris model, really. I mean, he is one of the coolest Primaris characters that we've had, you know, or probably is the coolest one that people would run for Blood Angels, but yeah, they just didn't quite get his rules there, I guess. Yeah, it used to have a refractor field of 5+. There was just a 5+ save, wasn't it, in the refractor field? I remember. What was the 3+ invulnerable save that randomly teleported you again? What was that called? Because you used to get a conversion field, I think, which was your 4+ save, but I forget what the 3+ save was called. I think it was a displacement field, was it? You made a save and then you randomly got teleported D6 in a random direction, but it was a 3+ invulnerable save. Displacement field, yeah, nice. That's going back a bit. If they gave him a 5++, that would only make any difference if he was hit with the AS -4 or more. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I mean, I kind of feel like he would probably be. I feel like he probably needs to have a 4+, right? To make him like super competitive, and for people to just want to instant pick him, he probably needs that 4+ save, like most of the other characters get. Tangle foot grenades, yeah, you know, I didn't get hit by any tangle foot grenades, that was good. A new codex comes out with more ways to counter our army. Is anyone else worried we'll need a Blood of Baal in 12 months to feel competitive? I think we will. I mean, they've kind of started that already, covered in bees with what's that book they just released called, like, the Book of Rust or something? I mean, I guess that's like the equivalent of like Psychic Awakening for 9th edition, right? And yeah, I think you're right. I think we will get a book in a year to 9 months time. And if I remember correctly, what all did they change in Psychic Awakening, right? Like, they gave us the Savage Echoes rule. They obviously gave us that new Mephiston model, but I mean, I don't know if that was super important. And I mean, back then we actually didn't have access to litanies and stuff like that, so I guess we got access to those, I think. I don't think we had litanies before that book came out. Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty strong. I generally think that one of the strengths that we've got is the new ability to build characters with a Space Marine book, right? I mean, if we weren't able to do that and we just had to rely on our characters right now, then maybe we'd be quite weak. Like, I'm not fielding any of our named characters in my army. I mean, they're not even in my thoughts. Some people are still fielding Dante. I mean, some people love Dante and still want to field him. But me personally, like, I'm not even considering fielding any of our named characters right now. But yeah, I mean, there's always a bit of power creep with new codexes, and I'm sure that's going to continue. So sometimes it's weird. You get excited. You're like, oh yeah, we're one of the races that are getting our codex first. But in hindsight, maybe that's actually a really bad thing. You know, maybe you actually want to be one of the races that get their codex like midway through the pack, or even towards the end of the pack potentially. You know, once the Games Workshop designers have figured out everything that all the other races have, then they can be like, oh yeah, this race is going to be a bit weak against all that then, so we need to give them something else. What's the problem with Astaroth? I mean, I don't know if he necessarily has a problem. Like, I don't know if any of the characters necessarily have a quote-unquote problem. My problem with them is that they have toughness 4 and just a single 4+ save, right? I think one of the strengths last edition for me with all the characters was like the standard of sacrifice generally made all our characters a lot stronger, right? Giving any character within sort of 6 inches of that standard of sacrifice was getting a 5+ shrug, which was pretty huge. You know, you're adding 33% survivability to every character that we have. And yeah, I mean, without the shrug, I mean, I guess you can get a shrug if you have the priest. It's not as good, mind. And it's a much smaller, you know, it's 3 inches down from 6 inches. So you have to basically be hugging that priest to get the shrug. But yeah, I want to say Astaroth has 5 wounds in toughness 4, and he's 150 points, right? The Primaris Chaplain on a bike has 7 wounds and his toughness 5, so he's got 1 more toughness, and he's got 3 more wounds, and he's 35 points cheaper. I mean, sure, Astaroth, I guess, can take 2 litanies, but the Primaris Chaplain on a bike can get 2 litanies as well and still be less points. And I think this edition is all about having your characters like Blood Angels generally get the most advantage in the end game if your characters are all still alive, right? Because Savage Echoes kicks in and we brutalize people in close combat, and yeah, I just don't see it. I mean, I think I play against too many armies that are going to make quick work of a toughness 4 character. For example, I play Death Guard a lot, so against Death Guard, your character is going to be toughness 3 and he's going to get wounded just about 100% of the time at that point because he's toughness 3, which is potentially a real problem. And then also I play Sisters of Battle, so if they've got less than 6 wounds, then Sisters of Battle can just miracle dice like a multi-melt a shot or a melt-a-gun shot, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, he just died from full health to a single shot. Which also can be hugely problematic, I guess. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with Astaroth in particular. I just don't like toughness 4 characters that can be killed in a single, like a single attack fairly easily and fairly reliably by the enemies that are in my meta. So that's why I'm not considering them. And, maybe you don't have those problems in your meta. I mean, that's great. But I guess if you go to the tournament or something, you'll probably run into some of those problems, and then I guess how you deal with them will be determined on how well you do at said tournament, I would have thought. Oh, you're welcome, man. I guess it's the number of armies that feel designed to kill Space Marines. No real rolls, fight last, no auras, counts as not charging, everything doing 2 damage. His problem is he's not Primaris and he's not on a bike. I mean, Gitley, you know me too well. But, I mean, like, in the last 2 battles that I fought on stream both times, it's been either the Primaris Chaplain on the bike or the Primaris Captain on the bike, making huge plays to win the games, right? Like, they were tough games. If I'd been using the regular Blood Angels characters, would I have still won those games? I'd say probably not. I mean, maybe that means that I'm bad at playing Blood Angels right now, but I kind of think that, like, maybe just some of the armies that we're playing against are really strong, and unlike, like you said, they're designed to kill Space Marines. I wish I could paint tonight. I did my last 20-mile run of my training cycle, and I'm a puddle of jello. Hey, good evening, Tom. How you doing? An evening, Big Chief. Hope you're well. Too many people still want to use the characters as combat machines these days in 9th edition. I feel with the core mechanic and the nerfs to stuff like Thunderhammers and Storm Shields, that's not their role anymore. Yeah, that's probably a good point, Mark. See, I guess I still run a bunch of my characters as big, nasty combat characters, and I guess those rules from the chapter upgrades in the Marine Codex still lets me do that, so maybe I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, I mean, I felt like I've had a lot of work out of my chapter master on the bike. Like, I think that guy's an absolute boss. I think the Death Company guy on the bike as well could actually have been good. He just had a bit of bad luck. But yeah, there is something to be said about, like, the rerolls and the core and the auras are kind of just as important now, maybe even more important than the raw power of the captains or the raw power of the characters. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to say exactly, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely of the opinion that at the moment the way I'm seeing characters is, like, I'm still seeing them as big, powerful, killy characters, but to do that, they can't be our named characters. They have to be these sort of generic Space Marine characters with the correct traits or the correct relics and the correct heroes of the chapter applied to them. I got a lot of work out of Quake Bolts on the Sanguinary Priest. They negate the minus to wound or make friends hit on 2s. and I just let him sit with the group and don't really put him into combat. Yeah, I mean, I guess Quake Bolt. What is the Sanguinary Priest's ballistic skill? Is it 2 or is it 3? I mean, I don't tend to shoot him because he's only got a bolt pistol, right? I mean, I guess I should always remember to fire the bolt. I feel like it's a 3 on his BS. But yeah, I just don't have quite enough CP to include Quake Bolts as well in my list. I do think there is value in Quake Bolts, but yeah, I'm spending a lot of CP before the game, and it's just difficult, I guess. But I mean, if you want to see what I'm spending on my CP before the game and stuff, you know, tune in on Monday night. We'll run over the army list at the beginning of the stream, and yeah, I think I'm starting the game with 4 CP, so I'm essentially spending like 8 CP before the game starts, which is a lot to spend. Hey, good night, Tony. Thanks for hanging out. Do you think any of the Assault Intercessors are any good? I find them really good, but I just want to know your take on them. I think you can run in a squad of Assault Intercessors, and I think they're fine. I don't know if I would run multiple squads of them, but I think you could definitely run one squad of them. And I guess the fact that you can honor the chapter makes them strong. I mean, I'm actually really surprised that Death Company Intercessors didn't get the ability to honor the chapter, and it's just, you know, Assault Intercessors that got it. Like, I really thought that would have been a Death Company. That would probably make me actually consider picking Death Company Intercessors, right, if they had the ability to honor the chapter. But yeah, it's like I think Assault Intercessors are fine, but you know, like I sometimes see people take lists with like 3 squads of them, and I think if you take 3 squads of Assault Intercessors, you end up having to camp some objectives with Assault Intercessors that don't particularly camp objectives very well, right? Because they only have that short range pistol. So, I mean, maybe you could get away with 2 squads of them, but I definitely wouldn't take 3 if you're building a battalion. I'd take like 2 in a Phobos troop unit, like an Infiltrator and Cursor. But for a while there, I was running 2 Infiltrator squads and 1 squad of Assault Intercessors, and I thought that was okay. Quite often the Assault Intercessors would get killed in no man's land, but I suppose like if the enemy are killing your Assault Intercessors, maybe more powerful targets are getting to where they need to be, so maybe it's not the end of the world. What exactly does Quake Bolts do? Quake Bolts, basically, it's a special issue War Gear Dolph, and when you shoot, so you give it to like basically a character, or you can give it to a sergeant in a squad, and when you're shooting with that character or the sergeant, you make a single hit roll. So it doesn't matter if the gun's like a rapid fire 2 gun or whatever, you just make one single shooting roll, and if you hit, then anything that gets in melee combat with the target that you hit that turn gets +1 to their attack, +1 to their hit roll in melee. So if you did drop down like a squad of Vanguard veterans or a squad of Death Company, you couldn't do it with the Death Company actually because they don't have a sergeant, but if you drop down a squad of Vanguard veterans in the close combat phase to do a charge, and you shoot and the sergeant hits them with their bolt pistol, then if you make your charge you get +1 to hit for the rest of the squad. So basically your whole squad of Vanguard veterans could be hitting on 2s rather than hitting on 3s. It's a Blood Angel stratagem, and yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I thought there was a lot of value in it, but I've not actually run it myself yet. But I mean, you don't even need to do it that way. I thought there could be value in it if you give it to like a squad of Heavy Intercessors, because Heavy Intercessors now have that 42-inch range gun or whatnot, so you could have some Heavy Intercessors sitting in your own deployment zone on an objective potentially with a 42-inch range gun, and anyone that the captain or the sergeant, in that squad hits, then anyone that charges that, like his target, will get +1 on their melee attack, right? Which could be pretty useful. You know, and I guess especially if you're running any sort of like if you're running Thunderhammers or Power Fists or anything like that, that's going to be -1 to hit, then it could definitely, you know, add a good amount of damage to that squad once they make their charge. It also feels quite safe to do it on those heavy intercessors, right? Because the heavy intercessors are going to be really difficult for the enemy to take down. So, and I guess if the enemy can see your heavy intercessors, then to shoot them, then your heavy intercessors can see the targets and shoot back, and force that bonus for the charging, right? DC Assault Intercessors are amazing, that you can give them 5+++ and transhuman them. Love doing them to an enemy who specs an easy kill. Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have some advantage, those Death Company Intercessors. Just, it's so annoying that they can't have jump packs, right, Mark? I'm finding the same with CP John. I'm regularly writing lists that would start between 4 and 6 and worry that it's not enough. So I started with 4 last week against the Custodes, and I felt like anything starting with less than 4 is going to be rough. Like, I guess starting with 4, it means that when it's your first turn, you go back up to 5. Now, it feels okay, but like, I don't know if I would ever start with less than that. But I mean, I am adding 2 heroes to the chapter. I am adding 2 additional relics. I am adding Angel's Exemplar to my chapter master, so it's a lot to add, or there's a lot of strength you can add, I guess, Gitly, and yeah, so I feel like it adds a lot. And then what it does as well, yeah, because I'm running the I don't know how the hell I got white paint on there earlier. I just noticed that. I must have missed that. God damn it. That'll be when I was trying to dry brush the base. I got a bit of white paint on there. Alright. We'll fix that in a second. So yeah, I think starting with less than 4 is going to be rough, but I mean, 4 seems okay. I'm going to play a few more games and decide, but all my CP spent pre-game are spent pretty tactically, I think. And basically, we have a captain that hasn't been killed yet, right? Like, they just, in every game, they really struggle to take on that captain. Like, he's so survivable, and he dishes out so much damage as well. I'm just in love with the chapter master on a bike. I mean, yeah, I don't know why I call him a captain. He is a chapter master. Yo, I have to head out, but it's been great watching. Keep up the good content. Thanks, Beck. Thanks for watching. Hey, Cassandra, or Carandus. I always look at strats alongside lists when building, and I need to work out a tier fashion for strat CP. Yeah, so just follow. You're 100% right, Dolph. It'll just follow the profile of the gun. So if the gun has multiple shots, you just get to make one shot, and with that one shot, you're basically just fishing for a hit. If you make that hit, then Quake Bolts is activated. So I guess quite a few people are running it on like a bolt pistol, so you can shoot the target you're going to charge. But I mean, I guess, yeah. Do you know what? The interesting thing about running it on the target like that might actually be that it means that if you end up in combat for another round, you can shoot the pistol in combat and keep the +1 bonus, right? Whereas if you do my idea and have it on like your heavy's sitting in the backfield, potentially that unit will be in combat, then you won't be able to shoot into the combat, so you might end up losing it. So I guess there's probably advantages to both strategies there. I like the idea of them on an eliminator squad. Yeah, I mean, an eliminator squad would be cool because they have the 2+ ballistic skill, right? And I guess eliminator squads also have the advantage where like they can they don't have to deal with lookout sir and stuff, so you could actually shoot enemy characters even if they're not the closest target and stuff like that. The only problem, I suppose, is you have to pay 90 points for an Eliminator squad, and like, I don't know many people running Eliminator squads for Blood Angels. Like, I don't know if I think they're that competitive. I mean, I probably actually just don't think they're very competitive, right? I mean, maybe you think an Eliminator squad's competitive, but I don't see anyone running Eliminators. Even on other chapters, I don't see very many Eliminators. Now, some people said that they'd seen Eliminators being run so they could like snipe out characters and stuff, which I guess is possible, but yeah, I don't see that happen all that often. Speaking of Eliminators, I was listening to podcasts talking about using one of them turn 1 charges, using the bolt carbine for a free move into the enemy. I mean, I don't know about turn 1 charges on Blood Angels, right? You know, we're at our strongest once we get to Assault Doctrine and Savage Echoes kicks in. Like, 7 attacks in turn 1, just like there'd be no AP there. I mean, sure, you could maybe like lock up a unit in combat and that could provide some value, but like, I don't think you're going to really do much killing with Eliminators in turn 1 combat. Like, I don't know if that's a stratagem that I would ever do, Tom. I mean, if you want to get something across the board to make a turn 1 charge, then like, you know, I was talking about my Death Company captain on the bike, right? So the Death Company captain on the bike could use Forlorn Fury for like 1 CP, if I'm correct. So he could pay 1 CP and jump forward 12 inches, and then turn 1 he could move forward another 14. So potentially you've got a biker who can move 26 inches in turn 1. So if you really wanted to get across the board and get some sort of turn 1 charge off. Plus that biker's probably more survivable than Eliminators, right? Because, I mean, Death Company captain on a bike has a 2+, 4++, 6+++, and he's got toughness 5, and he's got 6 wounds. So I guess, yeah, he's got the same wounds as the Eliminators. He's got a better save, he's got an invulnerable save, he's got a feel no pain. He's also got an additional toughness as well. So, I mean, he's gonna do a lot more damage, and he's going to be more survivable. And I guess it's just going to cost you 1 CP for that Forlorn Fury. So, something to think about maybe, if you're dead set on trying to get turn 1 charges off. Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree that if you do want to do that turn 1 charge, you're trying to destroy a screening unit, right? A cheap screening unit or something like that. All right, guys, it's 5 to midnight, so I'm gonna call a stream in like 5 minutes. So if anyone has any last questions they want to ask, put them in chat now. Otherwise, we'll be back at 4 p.m. UK time tomorrow, and that is 1 hour earlier than it was last week because UK are now moving into daylight savings. So I guess check your calendar, or you know, the stream will be scheduled tomorrow morning, so just check on the channel. If you want to come hang out tomorrow, it'll be a slightly different time. And then we are going to be back on Monday as well for a live battle. This week it's against Sisters of the Battle. and that's going to be 2,000 points, and that's going to be live on Monday night. Again, it'll be scheduled, so you can just check the channel and you can put a reminder in for yourself if you want to watch that. And we have got another army list comparison video as well on. I think it'll be on Tuesday night. There'll be an army list comparison video. So yeah, 3 more nights in a row. We should have some content out for you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of it. That's for sure. So it's literally taken me the whole night to paint this gun. I mean, we did a little bit of work on the Centurions, but not much. This is why I say it takes me years to paint my armies. But I think it's pretty close. Like, it needs a little bit of washing, and it needs a little bit of tidying up on the black, because the black went on pretty terribly at the beginning. Oh, that's the wrong color. I think it looks okay. I mean, once it gets some washing and stuff, it'll look decent. And I mean, it'll just be one more thing essentially finished for this next battle that I'm playing. Yeah, we have a Discord. I think Corbin is in the Discord. I think he maybe just joined last night. Good afternoon, brothers. I'm sorry to say I lost by 9 points. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jonathan. Necrons, did they out-obsec you, or what happened? Tell us. I'm just finishing up in a minute, Jonathan, so tell us what happened, and then I'll head out. Necrons can be tough, man. I mean, those barges can also be like a huge problem, I find, with their like sort of natural transhuman, and the fact that their obsec can be a real problem as well. Thanks for the company and the laughs while I paint. Stay safe and for Sanguinius. No, thank you for your company, man. Thanks for hanging out. It means a lot that you guys hang out all the time when we're doing these live hobbies. It's much appreciated. Just got home from playing my first game since lockdown. How did you get on, Carrie? Tell me. Waiting to hear how Jonathan got on as well. Was not a good game on my part. Well, don't feel too bad, man. The first game I played after lockdown, I did horrendously, so it happens to the best of us, I guess. But, you know, I always say you learn more when you lose than when you win, right? Because when you win, you sort of pat yourself on the back and you just go off and you're like, yeah, my list's great, I won that game, well played. But I always think when you lose, you go back to the drawing board, you analyse things more. So there's no, you know, to win more games, you need to lose more games first. So don't worry about it too much, I'd say. Too many warriors to kill was my guess. No, it was 20-man blobs and reanimate on 4s and reroll 1s. Oh, I've played against that before. It can be pretty difficult with all the... You really need to... Yeah, I mean, if you've got resurrection orbs as well, the Necrons can be very problematic, I guess. We played mission 31 from the Grand Tournament book, and I was forced to taste the mission secretary. I can't remember what 31 is off the top of my head. But yeah, reanimation protocols can, on a bad day, they can just mess your life up, right? And there's not so much you can do about it. It's just sometimes a bit of luck in terms of reanimations. Alright, I think what we'll do then is we'll call it a night, but we will be back tomorrow afternoon for a live show. So, yeah, hopefully we'll catch some of you guys then. And, yeah, like I said, we'll be live on Monday as well, and we'll have another army list video on Tuesday. So, a busy few days for the channel, but, yeah, again, thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys all have a good Saturday night. Appreciate you being here. And yeah, I mean, if you are new here and you haven't thought about subscribing before, then please do that as well. It does really help me out. Whether or not you're subscribing on Twitch or on YouTube, you know, being a member on both really helps me out. You don't have any anti-tank, just 60 warriors. Yeah, do you know what? I played against a list that just had 80 warriors, and that was brutal. Torres. Yeah. If you can't get through the squads of warriors, I guess you can have some big problems. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what makes him reanimate on 4s, because when I was playing it was reanimate on 5s, reroll 1s, but reanimate on 4s, reroll 1s sounds brutal. Nice hanging out, but I need to do more painting. We all need to do more painting, brother. It's fine. Alright, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. And yeah, thanks again for watching. So, by the blood are we made. Peace.